Welcome, this is Pineleaf Needles, Skirmisher Middle-earth, and we are out of the depths of Moria, and are now in Mirkwood, for the first of our Mirkwood skirmishes. So we'll bring up the instance finder, and look for Strike against Dannenglor. We are here at the Haunted Inn, and near it is a place called Dannenglor where we are to rescue some captured elves. Now we're going to run this at tier 2. See how that works. Now this is within a week after the 12.2 update.
Here at Dannenglor, the enemy holds and interrogates those they have captured in battle. The prisoners must be rescued swiftly.
And if we have the 12.2 update into account, maybe there were some adjustments. So we'll see if there were, and how well things work at this level. You see we have some of these more evolved. This is probably one of our most common enemies in this particular skirmish. And we get a moderate number of enemies here. It's larger than you would see in a skirmish like the Mischief, but it is a smaller amount in a group than you would see in Trouble in Tuckborough or Icy Crevasse. Well, I'm certainly not spinning through it without any trouble. I'm getting through it, but certainly not rolling over it completely. So that's good to see. So it looks like it's a decent setting for me. In some of my earlier runs I've been thinking that... What? Alright. So as you see, these are the most common enemies. This is all I've faced so far. So yes, there are other types of enemies that I will face. Now, I am still in my damage mode, so I guess it does make sense that I would be going down in morale a little bit more than if I were in my tanking stance. So you can see here, we also have candles here. So we'll have to go and handle those things, and their usual problem is, of course, that they have the blinding glare here. So there's a plus 20% mischance when you're in their vicinity. So I do like to go for them first when possible, just so I can get rid of that particular glare. What am I doing right now? Oh, Western East, okay. Let me see. What level is my fun little weapon? 58! Yes. That also helps to make it a little bit more challenging when my weapon is about 5 levels below the current level. Where is that? Is that my current weapon? Yeah, it's my current weapon. So I do have to see about getting a better weapon. Oh, funny, fun. And you'll understand what I mean in a moment when I do the encounter, because Ruingalad, the encounter that's going to be set off there eventually, after I take care of this counterattack, is one of the notorious encounters, and even nerfed that encounter boss can be rather deadly. And you'll see why in a moment. I remember I had a captain when I was taking through the captain there a couple months ago. The captain took 5 attempts in order to get through the encounter. Well, not 5 attempts. 3 attempts to get through the encounter. And on the last one I just had about every buff in the book on me. So I have to take care of these candles, and then before I do that, let me... Speaking of buffs here, add a little vitality. Add a little food. I've got Never Surrender up, which will help. Now, Ruingalot is a fireball. Now, what happens is, in this particular skirmish, now this is true actually with the fireballs you face. Oh, good grief. This is worse than I thought it was going to be. I should have done this in taking stance. If things go really wrong, I'll go someplace, do a flop, and change into taking stance. Now, it so happens that soldiers are immune to the reflect. And that's... So Flax is probably taking damage from the nearby searing heat, but not from the... Actually, I'm not sure where. Maybe... Oh, they're immune to the aura, but they're not immune to the reflect, it looks like. Well, since they do less damage than you do, they of course then... Alright, there we go, seared. Okay, occasionally get... Ooh, uh-oh. Did I pop Never Surrender for that? Yeah, I had to use Never... Okay, Never Surrender popped there. So I was a little late on that. Fortunately, there we go. And he blows up in the end, and... Good thing I had my morale back up before then, because otherwise I could have gotten killed there, but... Did kill my soldier, alright. I had thought that soldiers were a little on the safe side on that, but not completely, apparently. But anyway, that is Ruingalot, and you see I had to work quite hard in order to keep myself from getting killed there. Though I was in recklessness stance, so that did make it tougher. So I would suggest maybe if you want to be a little bit easier to go into tanking stance when doing that particular encounter. But anyway, there's a reflect, 25% reflect. 25% of all the damage you do is reflected on you. It used to be 50% back when they first created the skirmish, and some people found the encounter to be completely impossible solo. Namely, anyone who didn't have any self-healing abilities. So back in those days, that Wardens usually didn't have too much trouble of it because recklessness stance was not used nearly as much. At least not by me. These days I've been using a little bit more, which gives a little chance for me to get hurt. But my real problem that I used to have with recklessness stance, it used to take up so much power that in a fight like that I would be out of power before the combat was over. Alright, now there are 2 counterattacks for this one. So therefore, actually, I told you earlier that I should take care of the fireball first. follow my own advice. I think I'm going to need a new weapon. Actually, the fact that I had a weak weapon probably was helpful, though, against the previous encounter, because the last thing you want when you're fighting Ruin Goliath is to do your damage too fast. Because if you damage yourself, if you damage it quickly, then it damages you quickly. Alright. Oh, here's the second counterattack, and while that comes up, I'll have another meal. Yes, and all that challenging stuff happened while having food within the system, and this is food rated at the right level. This is the Lothlorian rep food that I'm using. Level 60. Minimum to it. So therefore, I'm not behind on my food equation. No, I'm behind on my weapon a bit. At least on the consumables, I keep those up to date. Well, at least on the main food. Probably should get some new vitality food, since I noticed that I just ran out of my last of my food, and that was level 50 stuff. Alright. The rest of that battle should be easy, of course, unless he manages to heal himself, which... okay, what I want to do is here. This is just to check, see whether or not I tripped the encounter for the birds, since that's the bird encounter up there. And now up here. More flames. Now, the flames that are hail, the weak ones and the hail ones, they do not have a reflect. Ones that are hardy and larger, they do have a reflect. So in a way, Ruin Goliath is just one of many fireballs that you could face. So it's not too much different from the standard fireballs you could face in here. It's just that since it's an encounter mob, it'll be an elite even in solo mode. So it'll act like an elite one, and that means reflect. Alright, I think that Tier 2 was the right choice for this. Enough challenge to make things look interesting. Probably more interesting than some of the other ones I've had recently. And looks like 12.2 did not fix the tendency of wardens to have their... 12.2 did not fix the annoyance that wardens have in their gambits, in that the gambit gets stuck there at the end of combat. They keep on forgetting that, yes, they get stuck there now, and I can't depend on having a clear gambit when I enter into the next combat. But after all the practice I had from all the previous years, now, technically, I could have taken the last 3 control points in any order. But this is the order I like to take them in. And the reason I like to take them in this order is because there's one encounter where you have a wraith appear down there and he circles around here. And if you're busy facing a counterattack when the wraith comes into your area, things can get rather messy. So I like to take the 3rd control point to be this one, so that everything else would be cleared. Alright, now I thought it'd be the spiders because Because the spiders is the last encounter you could possibly get, and if you take the last control point and you've only seen one encounter, it probably means the spiders is the other one. You could also look through the gate and see if you have the spiders one before you even take the control point, if you care. Now, these things also have an intense heat aura around them. There we go. And that's the one that the soldiers are immune to, since they're immune to the area effects. Okay. I missed a little deceiver there. You deceived me. Right, now. That should be the end of it, and after that, we'll take this control point and the boss fight. So you see that the first 3 control points I took, the ones that are in the downstairs region, all of those are, yes, of course. What'd you expect with a Mirkwood skirmish? There had to be at least one spider. That all the ones on the downstairs area, they have counterattacks, while all the ones up here, both of them up here, don't. I don't think there should be too much trouble with the spider, right? Then again. And things will look a little bit better here. And this one isn't as tough as Gladden. And in fact, there was a thread one time that was called Gladden the Unkillable because some players thought Gladden was just impossible to do solo, which, as I said, the key there was if you had some source of healing, you'd probably get through it, which means Wardens didn't have too much trouble with it. Minstrels shouldn't have probably had an easy enough time with it. Runekeepers should have been able to handle it. But when you start to go into classes like champions who deal out huge amounts of damage, and they could be swishing away, not looking at their morale pool, and before they know it, they've just killed themselves. Hunters who had less in the way of self-heals than champions. Guards could probably get through it since they tend to be relatively low on their damage output and good on their defenses, so probably didn't have too much trouble. Bergs. Bergs, I'm sure, will be tough. My captain, as I said, I had a lot of trouble when I did this with my captain a couple of months ago. Now, while they have heals, they don't have much in the way of self-heals. Their heals tend to be more for others than for themselves. And there we go, the final flag for Strike Against Dannenglor. Now, this skirmish was known for its speed runs at times. I'll probably show you something like that in a later run, because this is not going to be where I'm going to leave off Dannenglor. Instead, if you recall with Tuckborough, I went through it with each of the classes, and I thought I would do the same thing with Dannenglor. And the reason I want to do this is because since the last time I went through all the classes in a skirmish, what happened? They updated all of the classes with the trait trees and all. So I want to see how each of the various classes will do on this particular skirmish. So here we had it with a Warden at level 63 with a level 58 rated weapon. And next time we'll do it with the Runekeeper and go in with each of the classes in reverse alphabetical order and see how they do. This will be at various levels. The Runekeeper will be at level 95, but I'm sure I'll have one or two lower level classes also. We'll see how this works. And until next time when we have the Runekeeper play it, this is Pineleaf Needles. May your shield protect you, and your spear never break.